What's up, guys? It's me, the Rambling Collector, back here with another manga ramble for all of you. And looking back, it actually has been a while since I've done one of these, for a manga ramble at the very least. For the past few videos now, I've been actually covering more, I guess you could say normal books, but this one I felt I needed to talk about, because I actually just picked this one up today, and finished it in one go, and my god, I've never been more emotionally hurt. Like seriously, it felt like being punched in the gut from just this one standalone manga volume. But anyways, the manga I'm here to talk about is called A Life Turned Upside Down, My Dad's an Alcoholic by Mariko Kikuchi. However, to all of you who are watching this video, I have a very serious warning to give all of you. So, let's get into that real quick. So first of all, to those of you who are sensitive to these topics that are listed here, whether it be alcoholism, suicide, or abuse, if you are sensitive to these topics, please click off the video right now. As going forward, this is not a very lighthearted story. And in fact, this is actually based off of the author's real life. So to those of you who are sensitive to these topics, I encourage you right now, please click off the video. And to those of you who are still here right now, let's get on with this. So for one thing, I did not expect that I'd find this heavy of a story when I walked into my local bookstore today. I actually just found this as I was browsing the manga section, and I have actually read different diary manga in the past from another author, but now seeing that there was more to it, I was honestly curious to see what this one is about, especially considering the subject matter. And honestly, after reading this, all I can say is just, ow! Just yikes. This one is definitely not a lighthearted story, judging by the trigger warnings as I warned you of in the last slide. But this was hard to read. I found myself, as I'm reading this, just completely struck by how much people actually deal with this in their daily lives. I was fortunate enough to not have to deal with this kind of situation, but to those of you who do, I am so sorry for the situations you have to deal with if you have something similar to this. But in all honesty, reading Mariko's story of dealing with an alcoholic father was heartbreaking to see, especially since a lot of this stuff, like, for one thing, no child should have to learn that their mother essentially hung themselves due to the abuse of dealing with an alcoholic father. Which I did mention there is abuse, but the funny thing is, the father himself never does any abuse, except for one incident which I will not spoil, but it is in there. But it was like the only time that happened. But throughout this whole manga, I kept seeing Mariko relaying the facts of how her dad essentially just got worse and worse with the alcohol. Like essentially every night he'd come home drunk, just flopping on the ground and just laying there, completely delirious, out of his mind, getting into car wrecks, almost hitting people, and just essentially neglecting his duties as a father. And honestly, nothing enrages me more than seeing someone who's just so willing to head to the bottle just to ignore life. And honestly, watching Mariko's story, or reading it I should say, watching as it progressed, where first we have her mother, who would constantly be crying herself into tears like almost every night, resorting to prayers just for a bit of peace. And then eventually just she couldn't take it anymore and hung herself. And I'm telling you right now, no child should ever have to experience something like that. Not ever. No child should have to live longer than their parents or realize that their parents hung themselves due to the actions of another. And from there, it just seemed to spiral even worse. Like, more than that, we actually get to see her trying to get into a relationship, but it turns out it is just abusive. Honestly, I was enraged as I was reading that part where she was in a relationship that was just downright abusive, with the boyfriend being just as much of an alcoholic as her own father. And I'm telling you right now, no child should have to experience just closing off their emotions, like bottling them up the way that she does here, that she is forced to do due to the situation that she has to comprehend and struggle through. Because not only this, but she also has to help out her little sister, as they are both living under their father's roof. And honestly, as I'm reading this, I'm just wondering, can we please give this woman some happiness? That's all I was thinking. Like, it would have its ups and downs, where at one point the father would give up drinking, seem like he was doing well, and then just as quickly run back to the bottle. And it really just goes to show the consequences of alcohol addiction, in a way. Just drinking to just forget or just not think about life. Which, unfortunately, a lot of people do this. A lot of people run to the bottle just to find something. Like, it's a very bad vice, but it's something that allows you to forget for a moment. Me, personally, my vice is usually books, so I guess I came off a little bit wiser for that, but seeing this was painful. I know a lot of people are probably lucky to not have to deal with this situation, but for those who do not have that sort of luck, you have my sympathy. And to anyone who ever picks this up, if you notice someone who's in a similar situation, please help them out if you can, in whatever way you can. Whether it's just by being a moral support person to that individual who's dealing with this type of situation. And to be honest, you never know what that person might be going through. But reading Mariko's story and how she dealt with all of this, and yet still found the will to keep going and move forward, despite the fact of having an alcoholic father who kept coming home drunk every night, mother suiciding, and just dealing with an abusive relationship, and then realizing that she has this problem of closing off her own emotions. And we actually do get to see her lash out at her dad a couple of times for his behavior, especially later on in the book. But then we see her, like, attacking herself. Not physically, but, like, emotionally, mentally. Honestly, this manga was heavy to read. And it deals with a lot, and there are a lot of situations out there that I'm sure a lot of people can relate to with this one. I highly encourage it, as this is the first manga volume I think I've seen by this particular author. And I do encourage people to share this one. Like, buy a copy of it, spread it around, whatever. But with all that said and done, let's get on to the score, shall we? So all in all, I would give this manga a solid 9 out of 10 for being able to talk about such an uncomfortable topic, and more importantly, that it is from somebody's actual real life perspective. Like, this is actually their story. Now, for those of you who are interested in something similar of this caliber, a like diary style manga, I actually would recommend Nagatakabe's My Alcoholic Escape from Reality. Nagatakabe is the only other writer that I've seen that does this type of real life story diary style manga, besides Mariko Kikuchi. And Nagatakabe's works I would highly recommend, as there are about 5 books in total from her, and the one from Mariko. But I would definitely recommend them all, as they do deal with a lot of real life situations like this, and in a lot of ways they can actually be relatable to both men and women. So honestly, you guys, just to conclude this, if you know anyone who is dealing with a situation like this, of an alcoholic family member, give them some support. Give them a hand, and let them know that they are not alone, and that they can vent about their problems to either you or to anyone else. Just let them know that you're there for them. And I highly encourage, again, for people to pick this one up, just to kind of spread awareness of this type of situation. Anyways, you guys, if you've stuck around to the end of this video, listening to this crazy man's ramblings, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if you're interested to see more of my rambles, feel free to like this video, comment, and or subscribe for more. This is Rambling Collector, signing off, and you all have an awesome day. Thank you for listening.